Welcome in to our last SCPI Southern Section Laxcast Teardrop. I'm sad, Jim. It's been so much fun. It's just flown by.
All good things must come to an end. Even
Hey,
lacrosse.
not our friendship though. Not our friendship. But we've got one more, and we're gonna end things on a high note. We're gonna talk a little bit about some of the past games and just preview the last games ahead. So, Jim, let's get right into it. Let's start with let's start how we prefer to start as humans, in dramatic fashion. Let's head to the OC girls side of things, where a dramatic game, including overtime, Modern Day Foothill. What was your takeaway, Jim?
Yeah, well, I mean, the big picture takeaway when you take a step back and look at this bracket, I mean, we talked about it last week. This tournament goes really fast. It's high speed and high pressure. First round Tuesday, second round Thursday, semifinals on Saturday. So a week ago today, there were 16 teams in each division, all thinking that they might have practice the next day, right? Half of them got eliminated. Today, there's only a couple teams that are go into this week thinking that we might be practicing Thursday or Friday. Only a handful. But at the same time, you take that step back and look at where we're left, and it's basically exactly who we thought would be there, based on the rankings and based on the records. In the OC girls, we end up with St. Margaret's and Mater Dei. Now, we didn't get there exactly as we thought we might get there. Mater Dei actually needed overtime to advance against Foothill. That I think that's the drama you were referring to. But here we are, Mater Dei, two-time defending champion. Won its ninth game in a row since the beginning of April. Remember, earlier in the year, mid-year, we dropped them out of the top spot in the rankings, because they were 6-6, and we knew their schedule was tough, but we weren't sure of how much was schedule and how much was performance. But they won 9 in a row, and took survived in overtime against Foothill.
Right, and then St. Margaret's topped Trabuco Hills, so St. Margaret's and Mater Dei will meet. Is that Saturday, Jim?
Actually, the county finals are Wednesday. I believe the Orange County finals, boys and girls, are at Irvine High School, and the LA finals, boys and girls, are at Glendale High School. I think probably 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. for the girls' game and the boys' game. But check Maxlux OC. We'll have schedules up for those, along with the brackets.
So all along, your biggest takeaway, kind of on the girls OC side of things, is it's really what we've kind of predicted this entire time, correct?
Yeah, it's not even so much a prediction. It's just it's hard for in every division, boys and girls, OCLA. There are a couple of elite teams, and then there's a whole bunch of really, really good teams. And the question is always, can one of those really, really good teams jump up and bite one of the elites?
Right.
In the girls' side, Foothill's an elite team, Mater Dei is an elite team, St. Margaret's is an elite team, and that's why we saw overtime. We had two elite teams going head to head, and it took extra time for Mater Dei to put that one away, and then on the other side of the bracket, we saw St. Margaret's taking on one of those really good teams in Trabuco Hills that just didn't have quite enough to jump up and bite the elite.
I always love a good upset, but that didn't seem to happen on the OC girls side of things. So let's move now to the LA girls side of things. We had some interesting games as well. Redondo Union beat Kate very easily, and Kate was one of those that we had mentioned, was their schedule tough. We had always kind of questioned their schedule. So what's your big takeaway from that game? Because it was fairly easy for Redondo Union to take that W.
Yeah, and I think that is the big takeaway. This was actually the second year in a row that Kate reached the LA semifinals with an undefeated record, and then lost. Last year they lost to Chaminade. I think it was 9-6, so a little more competitive game. But this year, Saturday, they came out. Kate controlled the opening draw, and held the ball, ran some offense, and scored. You're thinking, okay, well, maybe this is going to be a game. But Redondo won, not every draw after that, but pretty close, and jumped out 5-1, and really just put it on cruise control from there, and ended up winning 19-5. So, Kate is a talented team. They work really hard. I mean, they had some athletes out there, but my takeaway was that this Redondo team, which won LA last year and then lost to Mater Dei in the final, and really lost badly in that final, because Mater Dei moved the ball so well, so many assisted goals, hitting cutters, finding the open people. That's exactly what Redondo did on Saturday to Kate, is they moved the ball really well. I think all 5 of those first goals that gave them the lead were assisted. And Coach Tom Borgia told me afterward that, basically they average 15 goals and 10 assists a game. So all 7 of their offensive players were on the team last year that lost to Mater Dei. So they learned something, and I'm not going to predict that they're ready to win Wednesday and win again on Saturday, but I will predict that they're going to be much more competitive if they do reach Saturday's final.
Right. So then moving down a little bit, Agora beat West Ranch, which was kind of an interesting game. So talk a little bit about that one, Jim.
Yeah, so that was, West Ranch was number 6, and Agora was number 7 in the seeding. So both of them had to beat a higher seeded team to advance, to get to the semifinals. So that was interesting enough as it was. Both finished the season really strong, and this was West Ranch. I think it's only their 4th year of playing CIF lacrosse, and they came out and led. They led or were tied throughout the first half. It was a really back and forth game, high scoring, 10-10 at halftime. West Ranch would go up by a couple. Agora would come right back and tie it. They'd go up by a couple. Agora came right back and tie it. Agora took one lead in the first half, I think, but West Ranch retied it, but finally in the second half, Agora slowed things down and controlled the draws and controlled the tempo, and ended up pulling away. And West Ranch just didn't have enough possessions to and couldn't really solve Agora's defense to overcome that. So, Agora has been through a lot this year. They have a new coach. Courtney Schneck is in her first year with Agora after taking last season off. Previous to that, she coached at Oak Park for 4 years, I think, and had them in the LA finals, and then won LA once and went to the section final. But she also took a maternity leave mid-season. And so they've had a little bit of disruption, I guess you could say, at Agora. I think they lost actually to West Ranch in the first game that she was out on her leave. But then that was 13-11. But then came back and won, I think, six or seven in a row, leading up to Saturday's win, rematch with West Ranch. So again, it was a 2-goal game, high scoring in the first half, low scoring in the second, very competitive. And Agora gets to advance and take on Redondo.
Mm-hmm. We'll keep our eye out for that. Let's move now to the OC boys side of things. Very similar situation, Jem. These teams, it's really not a shock to see the teams that pulled through. St. Margaret's took on Santa Margarita. St. Margaret's pulled through with the W. So it looks like Santa Margarita's ranking was accurate, would you say, on our top 10?
Yeah, I mean, tip of the hat to Santa Margarita. They struggled through injuries all year and didn't have a complete lineup, from what I understand, until late in the season, including this playoff tournament. And then they went toe-to-toe with St. Margaret's in Saturday's semifinal. They were even ahead 6-5 with about 7.5 minutes left. So they persevered all year and got they sort of debated us about their ranking and turns out they were right. That is a very good team, and they almost took down St. Margaret's.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of things, Tesoro faced Foothill, and Foothill walked away as well with the W. So it'll be a Foothill St. Margaret's matchup. Any big takeaways from this?
Well, again, Tesoro acquitted itself well. They were another team that, being undefeated, but playing, less than perhaps elite schedule, partly because of the league they're in. They're required to play a whole bunch of games against teams that, again, we talked about it with the girls. It's the same with the boys. There's a couple of elite teams, and then there's a whole bunch of really, really good. Mm-hmm. Tesoro is very close to being in that elite level. And I mean, you look at the score, 11-9 to Foothill. You might call that team elite. But all year we sort of wondered how much of that record, that undefeated record, was due to their schedule and how much was due to their ability. Well, again, they went toe to toe with Foothill. And led this one most of the way, 5-1 after the first quarter, 7-5 at the half, 9-7 going into the fourth. And I don't think Foothill finally tied it up until it was about 3.5 minutes left, and then scored the game winner. So it was a really tight one all the way, and Tesoro proved that it wasn't a fluke. Right. But Foothill also proved that it could trail the entire way and then pull it out at the end, which is a testament to their determination and their experience and the tough schedule that they played this year.
Yeah, all year. So now moving to the LA boys side of things, it's kind of interesting because, well, first of all, you were at all those games, correct? So you could talk about these for sure.
I spent my Saturday at Culver City High School from about 1 o'clock to about 9 o'clock. Yeah, 4 games in a row.
Lacrosse fiend. And then, but what's kind of interesting on this side of thing is there's a lot of familiarity. So talk a little bit about that, Jim, and let's kind of work through it and what are some of your big takeaways here?
Yeah, on the LA side, we have the third LA final matchup between Loyola and Palos Verdes. It's becoming a tradition, and I think it's what everyone wanted to see.
Yep.
These have been the two top teams in LA for the last 3 seasons, and what's been interesting is that they always play in the regular season. And the last 2 years, Palos Verdes has won the regular season matchup, but Loyola has won the LA championship matchup. This year, Loyola won the regular season matchup in overtime, and we'll find out on Wednesday who wins the championship matchup. They're two very good teams. Neither coach was really happy with their performance on Saturday. So they, imagine they got put through their paces at practice yesterday and will again today. And we'll see how they show up on Wednesday. But they were, two really interesting games for different reasons. Loyola had the late game and jumped up on Agora, which was making its second consecutive appearance in the semifinals there, jumped up on them early and then sort of took their foot off the gas or something. And suddenly Agora fought back and it was 5-3 at halftime, Loyola leading, and still 5-3 late in the third quarter before they finally extended to 6-3 and managed to, as Loyola has all year, they won with their defense. They only allowed 3 goals, but I think Coach Seth Cohen was a little disappointed that the offense didn't do more with the possessions they had. Their faceoff committee, Aiden Hess, won 13 out of 14 faceoffs. They had the ball a ton and could only produce 8 goals, and only 5 of them until late in the third quarter.
So is this the year that tides will change? Question mark, question mark. We will see. We'll know in a week. Well, less than that.
Less than a week, yeah. Well, we've got these games Wednesday to set the championship matchup, and then we've got the overall section championship on Saturday at Newport Harbor. So I think forget the times of those games. I want to say they're day games, 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. I'm not positive, though. Check us out on MaxLaxOC. We'll actually have it in writing and not in my memory, which is now clogged with way too much lacrosse trivia.
Busy guy. Any other big takeaways before we say our goodbyes?
I think I'll go back to the theme again. There's a couple of elite teams in each division and then a whole bunch of really good teams. But some of those really good teams are getting to the point where they can be called elite. So what we're seeing is I think, the growth of lacrosse, perhaps not necessarily in number of programs, although we are adding a few new programs every year, but that there's a number of teams that are starting to become elite. They're going from good to pretty good to very good to now elite. So I think hopefully in years to come, this Final Four won't be quite as predictable.
Right.
We'll see some upsets. We'll see, like we did in the LA girls side, a number 7 seed reaching the championship game, and I don't think there was a first round upset in any of the divisions. So the top 8 seeds, I think, all advanced. There might have been 1-9 over an 8, perhaps, but I'm looking forward to the day when we see a 10 beat a 7, an 11
right.
beat a 6. When you can legitimately look at the 16 team bracket and say there's no clear victories there. No, everyone's going to have to earn it. And we're getting there. We're getting there.
Right. Overall, are you happy with the growth of lacrosse here in Southern California, Jim?
Absolutely. I know we're still, at least on the boys' side anyway, we're probably 15 or 16 teams away from it becoming a CIF championship sport, as opposed to having U.S. lacrosse put on these postseason tournaments.
Right.
Once we get to that level, I think we may be like 20 teams away from on the girls' side, roughly speaking. Once we get to that point, then there's going to be a Division I tournament, Division II tournament, maybe an open division, which is how they do it in San Diego, and I think then you'll see we won't have to squeeze it all into a week. I don't think at that point on the schedule, but we'll so then you might see teams with a little more time to prepare for a matchup,
right.
being able to maybe be more competitive. So yeah, lacrosse is growing. We know of a couple teams that are joining CIF next year already, so we'll get closer.
Right.
And hopefully the playoff tournament won't be such a whirlwind with 3 games in a week and everyone's head spinning.
Right. I was just gonna say these guys and girls must be just gassed. My goodness,
There's definitely that. I mean, Agura's goalkeeper hurt his ankle in their quarterfinal win, second round win over Chaminade, and played on 1 foot against Loyola. He still made, I think, 11 saves, 13 saves, but one of his strengths is his athleticism. He's
right.
very fast, and he loves to. He works in their clearing game, so he makes a save and he helps bring the ball up. And Zach Tripp is who we're talking about. He was actually named I believe he was named the Player of the Year in the Marmani League. But he was limited. He
right.
could stay in his cage and make stops, but he couldn't really help them out in the clearing game against Loyola. And that's a product of playing Tuesday, playing Thursday, and then having a semifinal game on Saturday.
Right. Absolutely, man, that's tough. Well, for all things lacrosse, all the time, head to maxlaxoc.com. You can check out everything lacrosse LA, Orange County, and San Diego. They have write-ups of all these games. They have updated brackets. Check it out because you guys are still all over the place here, recapping these games and providing all the information for the fans, the viewers out there. So don't forget to check them out. And Jim, you've just been amazing. Such a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate you doing the podcast with us. And gosh, you've taught me so much about lacrosse. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I have to give a shout out to a couple of guys who've helped us out all year. Brandon Ross, Taryn Rodriguez, Aaron Valdez. They joined us as contributing writers. A couple of them joined us last year. Aaron joined us this year. So they've really helped us get out to more games, see more of this in person. So we're not just working off stat sheets.
Right.
And they will continue Wednesday covering games for us, and thanks to them for all their hard work as well.
Absolutely. So if you missed that, maxlaxoc.com, and you can follow Jim on Twitter at JLofty and
at JLofty at MaxLaxLA.
He's just all over the place. He's a man in demand. So, but you can catch him, that's for sure. You can head on to social media and catch him. Well, thanks again, Jim. It's been so much fun, and man, you've, like I mentioned, you taught me so much about lacrosse, and you know, you've taught the viewers about lacrosse, so we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a fun Laxcast with you.
All right, you're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, we'll catch you soon.